Welcome to the Rocky Garza Show, where we dive deep into the truths that shape extraordinary leaders. Today, we're diving into the tension of conviction and curiosity. Two truths that we usually don't allow to exist at the same time. Yet, if we're willing to see both sides at the same time, we might just find the clarity that we're looking for. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Rocky Garza Show, where we explore the collision of a deeply meaningful life and a wildly impactful career. I'm your host, Rocky Garza, and with over a decade of experience as a coach, consultant, and keynote speaker to many Fortune 500 companies, I'm here to share personal stories and expert advice to help you gain clarity, build confidence, and discover that you too can build the life you actually want. Whether you're a high achiever looking for a more full life or a leader striving for professional success with purpose, this podcast was designed with you in mind. You can be 100% right and still be wrong. See, I feel like I've learned something the hard way. When I only talk to myself, when I assume that I already know, and when I listen to people who tend to only think like me, I end up wrong. In my marriage, in parenting, and almost always in business. Holding tension is uncomfortable. It feels unnatural to be pulled in two directions at the same time. We take conviction and curiosity, and the jump, they sound like opposites. But what if I told you that our deepest convictions often come from the place where we were the most curious? The tension between knowing and questioning, I think oftentimes is where real clarity lives. And so I'm going to ask you today to take some time to consider the two truths of deep conviction and belief. And where does that align, or where does that for you even come into contradiction with the idea of curiosity, the idea of being open-minded, the idea that there may be something other than what you think there is? And if we could find the tension between those two, what would that mean for us? I think one thing for myself that I've practiced over the last few years is this idea of stoicism, if you will. Not the ability to not have feelings, but rather trying to find a way to stay steady in what I believe, that would be conviction. And this realism, the acknowledgement that the world is bigger than just my beliefs. And I think when we have the ability to hold space for both of those, I have found it to be immensely beneficial to me. But I didn't always get this right. Or maybe a better way to say it is I don't always get this right. And so today I want to talk to you about what am I learning in this lesson? And oftentimes, what is it that you're learning the hard way? See, I think I've learned this lesson most often in relationships, especially in marriage. It's typically my default to assume that I'm right. But almost every time that I allow curiosity to create space for an alternative, there seemingly is always a better answer. When it's not just the thing that I think that we should do for our family, when it's not just the thing that I think we should do or I should do as a parent, when it's not only my decision, rarely is it ever the best decision. See, the real tension isn't just about facts or perspectives. I think ultimately for many of us, I think it's about identity. Stay with me here. I think deep down what I've realized is that sometimes my need to be right is really about something else. It's usually way more often about a fear that if I'm not right, then I won't be loved. If I'm not right, I won't be approved. If I'm not right, then I won't be wanted. And if we're really willing to go there, if I'm not right, then maybe you make a decision to leave like other people in my life did. See, I want to challenge you today and ask yourself, are you interested in being right because you believe right is synonymous with security? Do you want to be right because you want to be able to prove if they left or why they left, why they didn't stick around, why they maybe didn't choose you personally or professionally? When we decide to make our convictional beliefs and we remove the idea of curiosity, we can tend to land at a place to where our desire to want to be right becomes an identifying factor of who we are, rather than this pursuit to explore and be curious and see what there could be. And the reality is I see it in others all the time. So often our fight to be right is ultimately just a fight for validation. See, the tension between conviction and curiosity isn't something you master. It's not something you do and you get it done and you say, I never have to practice it again. It's moreover something that you practice. It's not about arriving at this one-time final truth, but I think I have found it's about continuously moving in new directions, allowing space for what we know and really what we've yet to discover. The things that we would say we really want today, and still have space for what is it that I'm still pursuing? What is it I'm still unknown about? Can I have a deep conviction about what is true in my life and in my marriage and in my relationships and as a father, and yet still say, I don't know? I was having a conversation yesterday with somebody else on our podcast, and talking about how we have kids that are the same age. I have a 9-year-old and they have a 9-year-old. I've never been a parent to a 9-year-old. How do I know if I'm doing it right? How do I know that I'm dialed in and this is exactly how you parent 9-year-olds? I've never parented a 9-year-old, and so I have to be able to hold at the same time the convictional belief that what I am rooted in my parenting is exactly where I want to be today, and that's conviction and curiosity allowing themselves to live at the same time. But it's not just personal. It's happening all the time. It's happening in business consistently. I just wrapped up a call with a key sales leader. It's about a $140 million organization. And she's highly capable. She's highly talented. She was given the GEM Award. There's only 3 employees a year that are given this award to say that you are the absolute epitome of what we're going for. But she consistently wrestles with showing up and doing her part while also feeling like she can ask for help. She fears that if she asks for help, then she's going to be seen as weak or maybe even unnecessary. That if she speaks her mind, though, then she's worried that she's going to be labeled as bossy. And so it's this idea, this place of where does it go? And so the cycle goes round. We've been coaching for the last few months, and oftentimes she gets stuck between 2 forces that feel like they're contradicting each other. 2 forces that feel like if I decide to be me, it's going to be too much. But if I don't show up enough, they're not going to need me. See, the idea of deep conviction that I do believe I bring something valuable to this organization, and curiosity to say, is it okay for me to say that I don't know? Can I say I want to work on this project and I absolutely believe I'm going to crush it, and I need help because I've never done this kind of project before? See, when we get to those places, and we're going to call this curiosity, when she stops being curious, when she lets fear dictate her choices, inevitably she spirals. Her words, not mine. She loses herself and even her conviction because she's waiting for somebody else to ground her. She's waiting for somebody else to say, you got it, or I got you, or you're going to be okay. And I'm not saying that those relationships are not immensely important or valuable, but instead of holding the tension, she, like many of us, tends to fall into the pattern of either overcompensating or shutting down. And that's because we like polarity. We like to be right. We like to be black or white, one or the other. And the idea of holding the tension in the middle feels so foreign and so unknown, yet I believe it is so immensely valuable to us. As I look at that organization and many others, I think we can look at even a broader space. I think it's clear that innovation is curiosity. Going new places requires curiosity. Trying new things requires curiosity. When an organization is clear on its mission, vision, and values, we'll call that the conviction. It has the ability to pivot and to grow and to adapt at any moment without really losing the heart of who it is. And for me, that's what conviction and curiosity at work together look like. Not in opposition to one another, not being against one another, but living in this really wonderful tension together. And so I want to ask you and challenge you, if you want to create real change in yourself, if you want to create change in the world around you, then I think we have to allow ourselves the space to stop consistently and sometimes almost exclusively chasing right and wrong. The world is much too complex for singular answers. Human beings are much too complex for singular answers. That's why we have 143,000 kinds of personality tests and assessments of who we are and what it means. Why? Because there's not a singular test to tell you exactly who you are, because we're too complex. And I think there's a lot of truths in our life that are the same way. If we're only looking for one truth in a situation, we're probably missing half the picture. So I want to encourage you to instead pause. Ask yourself, what do I not know? And when you begin to ask what I don't know, then ask for help. I don't think the best solutions are found in isolation. I think the best solutions are found in the collective. And the collective typically is where tension exists. So the next time you feel yourself getting defensive, stop. Ask yourself, am I fighting to be right? because I need them to know that they're wrong? Or am I attempting to pursue what's right because I deeply desire to know what is true? And not just for myself, but maybe even from a perspective that I wouldn't normally have. And I find the difference between those two things is massive. One of those is about your ego. One of those is solely about you. The other, when paired with curiosity, I believe gives us the ability to maybe get closer to what we would call what is true. Not good, not bad, not right, not wrong. Simply the ability to recognize what is. So starting tomorrow, make it a goal to ask more questions than you give answers. Maybe practice something that we do often is replace the word why with the phrase, tell me about that. And then just listen. The tension between conviction and curiosity isn't something to solve, it's something to hold. When we learn to hold both, I think we find clarity and freedom in places that we never expected. And if today's episode resonates with you, here's the challenge I have for you. Practice asking more questions this week. See how that changes your conversations and your leadership and your relationships. And ultimately, if you found today's episode valuable, then I would greatly appreciate you sharing that with someone else. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Rocky Garza Show. I hope today's tension created the opportunity for you to see life in a new way and realize that clarity can be found in the tension of two truths. Again, if this episode resonated with you and you're ready to take the next step in your leadership journey to level up and get to the place that you really want to be, I'd love to invite you to join me for our upcoming workshop, Leading Without Losing Yourself. In this workshop, we're going to dive deep into the tools and strategies and clarity you need to lead with purpose and confidence. It's not about corporate jargon. It's about real actionable growth that works for you and your team. Our spots are limited, so go ahead and head over to rockygarza.com/confidence. Again, that's rockygarza.com/confidence, and you can secure your spot today. As always, remember to be seen, be known, and lead well. Until next time, I'm Rocky Garza,